Hey, Coop was Coop was actually outside. What was that, Monday? And you ran into Benny at an event. We're gonna get to that. Should we start there? Because you
I
do
mean, we
have an
can if you
article
want
on
to.
accordingtohiphop.com. So yeah, set the scene. Coop just put out an article on accordingtohiphop.com, which was basically taking you through the night of Benny's. It wasn't really an album release; it was more of a magazine cover reveal.
Yeah. Big shout outs to In the City, Mag, ATL, who invited us and let us put our banner up. Um, Shout out to LT who actually made the moment happen. I'm kind of gonna work in reverse, right quick. So, Benny showed up. The event started at 8. I got there about 9. Benny pulled up at 10:30, 10:27 to be exact. And the first thing that I want to say is that he made sure that he touched every person that came up to him. Like if you walked up to him to shake his hand and to take a picture, like he really did take the time and the effort to talk to every person that approached him in the crowd. And I respect the shit out of that, Mike. Like more than I could ever express in words to him personally. I will like tell him that the next time I see him again, because I have a feeling I will see him again. But I've been in so many circumstances since I was a teenager, Mike, where these dudes just act like so holier than thou and act like they are just above the fray. And so to see him just, be rooted to the people that was in there and truly shake everybody's hand and give everybody a pound and really take a picture with everybody and really take time to engage with the crowd, I thought it was phenomenal. I was super impressed. I had a little front row seat. I make sure I sat like in the very very front by where the drummer was playing. And shout out to the drummer. I just talked to Leah. She's gonna hit me with the drummer's name in a second. It's missing me right now. We was just on a thread talking about it, but that was the first thing that I noticed. I was like, okay, fam is really in here, like touching everybody. I think that means something. You know, the antithesis of that would be what I saw from Busta Rhymes in Madison Square Garden last February. Remember that incident?
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
so it was very, very refreshing. For one, when it was time for him to do his media stuff, I know due to some technical difficulties, we was unable to have our camera and mics in there. But everybody who had a camera and mic got some burn, Mike.
Hmm.
You know, like everybody. Like he even did a drop for one of the platforms. I recorded other people's interviews and drops too. I have that footage as well. There was a fashion show. Shout out to Leah Love for being the coordinator of those things, and all the models got a picture with Benny at the end, and his manager Harlem. Shout out to Harlem because Harlem's the real reason the picture happened. So he said the model picture was going to be the last picture. And I literally rolled up to Harlem and I was like, hey, I'm Coop from According to Hip Hop. Like, I'm the dude LT told you about. And shout out to LT.
Shout
And
out to LT for sure.
yeah, no. LT's the one that really made the photo op for According to Hip Hop and for me happen. And he literally, Mike, looked at Benny and said, we got to do one more. He said, they supporting the movement.
For sure. Love it. Oh,
And
let me get to the
so,
super chat real quick. Hold that thought. Mad Max says, before we get started, yo, K Dot, I heard your unreleased track. Tranquilize the song, just like like you is garbage. We don't want to hear your vocals again in this hip hop space. Retire, bum. Mm. 007 with the super chat. Shout out to 007 out in Queens. He said, you need Queens representation on that EP. Let me know and I'll fly down and spit a verse for the real this time.
uh,
Shout out to 007.
007,
007 is moving like a secret agent, and he could just fly out and give you a verse and fly right back to Queens.
his name is 007 for a reason, Mike.
Or Brooklyn or the Bronx or Philly or whatever. Peter Parks with the
007
super
hit me.
chat. Go ahead.
007 actually hit me up today. I didn't get a chance to hit him back because I was working on the article
Mm-hmm.
and finishing it up. And I'm temperamental about my shit, so I'll be taking extra long when I know, like, I take the write up maybe even more seriously than the review, because the write up is usually more of a reflection of the artist as a person than the music.
Right. Peter Parks with the super chat says, "Blessings, guys. Let's get to that EP. Let's get to that 25,000. Let's get it." But yeah, where were you at in the story? We were just talking about LT shouting out LT.
Yeah, yeah. So I was literally the last person to get like a formal media pick with Benny because he was technically done, and so Harlem bought him over, and I dapped him up. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, hey, I appreciate you doing this. Love what you guys doing. We've been supporting the movement from day one. I talked to him how I had interviewed Hit Boy, how we had already interviewed Love and Jay Skis. I told him I would love to interview him. He
Mm-hmm.
was also a little above the clouds, if you catch my drift. So you know what I'm saying.
I got
He
you.
was in his zone, but he was super personable. He said he appreciated it. We took a few pictures together. Just the one that you seen is the one that went up. But he was just like surprisingly like humble and thankful. And I even overheard him talking about how this was a big moment for him
Mm-hmm.
and that this was going to be his highest charting project. And I'm thinking to myself, so he understands the moment, but he's still humble enough to pull up. The spot we was at is like literally like a block or two up from the old 112. So kind of
Okay.
like old Buckhead area. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's not Buck. It's technically part of Buckhead, but it ain't really Buckhead no more because people don't really parlay over there like that anymore. Shout
Right.
out to Highness Cuisine. I was impressed with the facility. Um, and they're doing some dope things in there too. I had a good time while I was there. But it's hard when you're in the space that he's in. Like, think about it. It's like, well, he signed to Def Jam. He got Hit Boy and Alchemist producing his album, and here he is in this black-owned lounge in Atlanta on a Monday, literally talking to everybody, including me. You
Yeah.
know, like you really usually don't get that type of behavior for somebody of his stature, and so that was my biggest takeaway from it. My next takeaway was just I actually, when he started speaking after they did the magazine reveal for in the city, I was in a good way surprised at how community oriented he was speaking when he spoke to everybody.
Mm.
Like he talked about how we don't come from anything and how we come from bleak circumstances and how we have to like get together to like overcome that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm.
this is the guy that made rubber bands and weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so when you hear him talk about community, you really realize it's like, oh no, fam's a real person. And I'll just tell you this because I've been around long enough to know I can tell when somebody really cares about us, Mike, and when somebody just talking that shit
Right.
and he really cares.
Mm.
And that was what impressed me more than anything and what made me excited about doing a write up. It's like, oh no, he he want to see all of us win. Like he gave off that vibe sincerely, not just like on some soapbox saying it because the album's about to drop. It was real.
Right. I love
And
that.
so, yeah, me too. It was it was
Lee,
a good moment.
I was gonna get to the super chat. Leroy Green here. I didn't want to leave him hanging. Got $10 super chat showing love. He says, "What's up, my guys? A2HH, good to see you outside. Coop, I see you outside. Super proud of you, brothers, and keep it going. Salute and Coop. It's other artists out here that gotta chop it up with you. Make it happen. All right,
Well, I
let's
would I
do
would
it.
really love to chop it up. I would really love to chop it up with Benny again because he's not just a great rapper. I saw somebody who was thoughtful and intelligent as well,
And
and humble.
I think from a media standpoint, though, those things need to be covered because when people get in
Yeah.
these interview spaces, and I know a lot of people watch our show and they kind of take ideas here and there, but for the culture, I don't mind if you take this idea. I would love to see more of that part of the, saying that speaking, the things that you're speaking about, interviews that are focused on community, not just the music, not just the beef, not just, the controversy or the critics and things like that, balance it out. And I think that that would definitely show a different side like you saw last night. And I think those type of things really humanize and help the promotional vehicle and make people fans on top of the music itself. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was about to say, Mike. I think anybody who follows us knows that we've always gotten down with that team, have gotten down with their movement,
Mm-hmm.
and love their music. But I say this with all sincerity. He made a fan of me last night, Mike. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like, like I'm one of those people. When I become a fan of yours, I'm going to remain a fan. And I don't feel that way about everybody in this space. It's like I always tell people, it's like, no, I wasn't always a fan of Rick Ross, but when I became a fan, Mike,
No, you
10
are a
toes.
Rick Ross fan. You're right.
I'm a Rick Ross fan. It wasn't always that way. And, much like I became a fan of Rick Ross, like I always fucked with his music. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But be like respecting what somebody does and enjoying their music, to me, there's a line where that crosses over and you actually become a fan.
Right. Shout out to Rick
I
Ross,
cross
man. How incredible would a Rick Ross A2HH live interview be? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
I would love
cover
it.
things that haven't really been covered. And he's a great interviewer. He's one of the guys, in my personal opinion, he's one of my 5 favorite rappers to hear do interviews. He's very entertaining and informative in his
I
interviews.
was I was just about to say that, Mike. When Rick Ross does an interview, and this is what I mean, the difference between enjoying and appreciating somebody's music and being a fan. No, every time Rick Ross speaks, I'm listening because I'm a fan, and that's what I mean when I'm saying Benny made a fan of me last night. It's like, oh no, it's just not about me listening to your music anymore. Now, when he speaks, I'm going to pay attention a little bit more astutely. Like now, I'm going to check for him on a level that's beyond rap. Like for the first time, and I follow him on Twitter, but for the first time, I actually went and paid attention to the stuff that he said on Twitter for the past day.
Mm,
That's what I mean about being a fan now. It's like, oh no, it's like you got me a little bit invested with how you carried yourself and how you spoke. And knowing that your photo ops were done and you still came over and took a picture with me, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to overstate myself. It's like I know we're big in the grassroots space, but he was more than well within him rights to tell Harlem that he was ready to go back and do the mag reveal and not take those pictures with me. You know what I'm saying?
sure.
And so it's like, yeah, like he earned a fan out of me, and like I'm one of those people that's like, I don't know if you've seen my Prince or my Nas takes. When I become a fan of yours, I'm gonna ride for you.
Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. We got Jay Short here. He said it's afternoon where he's at on the West Coast. Shout out to the West Coast. Jay Short says, "Good afternoon, fellas. Hope you're having a good day. Before you get started, Coop, who will win in a versus between 70s R&B and 90s R&B? Which decade is greater?" Man, I'm glad you asked Coop because that's a joke to me. That's not even close. Respectfully.
Um, what I would tell you is that I would pick the '90s actually, Mike, but not
Oh
by
my
much.
God. No. No. There's no
I'm gonna
decade of music better than the 70s and R&B included.
see. Here's what I'll tell you is that I think the more thoughtful song making got made in the '70s, but just in a vacuum, Mike, about the door, that superhighway we were talking about that even we've created within the grassroots hip hop publications, the superhighway that those 70 artists opened up R&B wise, the superhighway that Prince and Michael Jackson opened up with their superstardom and their pop status in popular culture, Mike, like 90s R&B is special because the records are big and they're beautiful. Not just beautiful.
A lot of
They're big
those
and they're beautiful.
a lot of those records come from 70s records, by the way. And many of those
Yeah.
90s R&B records, if we check the samples and check the delivery and really check the cadence, they come from the 70s. But that aside, from a
I'm
talent
saying
standpoint, I'm sorry, the quote unquote superstars in the 90s, with the exception of Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, they would have been backup singers in the 70s. I love Mary J.
Casey
Blige, but Mary J.
Casey
Blige would have
Haley
been a backup singer in the 70s.
Casey Haley is not a backup singer, Mike. Casey is not a backup singer. Like that's what I'm saying. Like Mike, first of all, I'm from Charlotte, so I'm gonna hit you with some
Oh, you
stay,
know I love
some
Jodeci. Jodeci
forever.
is the best group of the 90s, period. So
I'm gonna
Jodeci's in
hit
a
you with some.
different vacuum.
I'm gonna hit you with some staying forever, my lady. I'm gonna hit you with some weak by SWV. We're definitely, Mike. We're playing "I
Don't
Will
want
Always
to.
Love
Are
You."
we really gonna
We're
do this?
we're
No.
playing "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston, Mike. It might be the best vocal performance in the history of music.
I think it is the best vocal performance in the history of music. I think it is. If you ask me, I would say that record. But you ain't got
What
20
that
of
got made
those.
in 1992, didn't it? 91,
Yeah,
92.
yeah, yeah.
Ain't that the 90s?
Yeah, it
Isn't
is the
Mariah
90s.
Carey's "Vision of Love"? Isn't "Vision of Love" the 90s?
Listen, man, I was listening to Minnie Riperton's material the other night. I will put Minnie Riperton's shit up against anything that Mariah made in the 90s. You're not
You
winning.
can put their voices. You can put their voices together, but okay. So this is what I mean
No.
about how the
Vision of
90s has a
Love
shot.
and Stand Inside Your Love? No, no. Come
Listen
Inside
to what
Your
I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. First of all, Minnie Riperton has one of the best voices ever. 5 octaves,
Ever.
shatter glass. But what I'm saying is that Minnie Riperton's records are beautiful. Mariah's early shit is big and beautiful, Mike. That's what I mean about the bigness and the boldness of it. They really stepped the game up in the 90s. Now, here's what the 70s has on their side. They have
Soul.
Stevie Wonder.
Of
They have Stevie
course.
Wonder on their
I
side,
wasn't
Mike.
even going
They
to
have
go
Stevie
there.
Wonder.
And Marvin Gaye. Like, what do we have for what's going on? And what do we have? I'm talking about the album, not just the song. You know what I'm saying? What do you have for that? What do you have for I Want You, that album? What do you have for Stevie's catalog? And that's not even counting what the Isley Brothers did. That's not what counting what Earth, Wind, and Fire did. No, 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 no,
I think the 90s got a shot, Mike.
no,
I
they
mean, how about
don't.
this, Mike?
They
Mike,
don't.
Mike, you pulled your big guns out. You already went there. Stevie, Marvin Gaye, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Isley Brothers.
You know
I
how many
mean,
one
yeah,
hit wonders are in the 70s on top of that? I could still go Teddy Pendergrass on you. I could still go, and I ain't calling them one hit wonders. I'm just naming more people. I
I was
could
about to
still
say
go
Teddy was a one
Isaac
hit wonder.
Hayes. I could still go Isaac Hayes. I could still go Curtis Mayfield. I could still go Barry White. No, you're not winning that. No. And these are just the bigger names. And this is just R&B. Like, no.
You want to know what, Mike? I'm gonna do something I rarely do, and I'm gonna pivot. I think you're right. I was
Come
trying to give.
on.
I was trying to give the '90s a little bit of love and some props. But
No.
then you know what? When you hit me with the
Rick
Teddy P and the
James.
Isaac Hayes. No. Rick James is '80s mostly.
But
Cold
he
blooded
mostly,
and give it to me,
mostly.
baby.
But I still got Prince and Michael I could do from the 70s, 79, 78. I could. Like, no.
Hold on. What year is Off the Wall?
That's not A79.
I'm out.
And that's
I'm
not
out.
even counting the Jacksons and the Jackson
No,
5.
no.
What are we
Okay, like
talking
so, Mike.
about?
So, Mike, if first of all, if we were to do a versus of '70s versus '90s, a Jackson's record wouldn't get played.
It probably wouldn't. I didn't even think of them. All the people that I named, I didn't even think of the Jacksons. And I could easily
No,
go, maybe tomorrow and Never Can Say Goodbye and stuff
never
like
can say
that.
goodbye.
You know.
Never can say goodbye. Off the wall, '79.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out
Yeah.
because you're not beating off the wall and songs in the key of life and what's going on. You're right.
Yeah.
And you can still play "I Want to Be Your Lover" by Prince. In fairness to you,
I could. Yep.
because that's
Jermaine Johnson with the
'79 too.
super
You know,
chat.
it's very problematic.
Yeah,
I
man.
tried '90s people. I tried '90s babies. I tried.
Well, I appreciate you playing devil's advocate for a moment, but I had to really make that one real.
I did what I could.
Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says Three Stacks is performing the new Blue Sun album at the legendary Blue Note Jazz Club in New York in a couple of weeks. Coop, you pulling up? He's performing down here at the Variety Playhouse twice, I think.
Is he?
I think so. I'll get some dates
Get
on
the
that.
date.
Yeah, I'll get some dates on that and we'll make that happen. We got to be there to support our boy 3000 and his flute playing. I'm with it. Did you see him performing last night on late night television?
I did not.
Yeah, he performed with his flute. It's
How
funny,
did it
man.
go?
Offline, it was dope. Offline, I was just talking to Coop about this. Like, why isn't Andre touring off of this? And boom, we get tour dates. Coincidence. Leroy Green with the super chat says, now that you met Benny and confirmed that he's human, what are you expecting from the album? And can we be real that when you sign to Def Jam, you're not gonna make the same kind of stuff that you made on the mixtapes. I was gonna get to that, Coop. Was there any music being played, or did you get any vibe about what we're about to hear on Friday? Because it's 12 records.
No, the records that got played were the records that we've heard: the Stove record, the Wayne record, and Braun. And I like that they did it that way. Now, me personally, because he's already proven as a solo MC, in my opinion, I don't have a problem with the amount of features that are on this album because it's a release on Def Jam. And so when I see Snoop Dogg, like down on the track listing, I get excited. I also feel like it's still going to be rooted because, well, I saw Armani Caesar down on the track listing.
Mm,
Stove is on the track listing. So it's like, I really do think, just based on the guest appearances that I'm seeing, it's like, oh, well, you got Lil Wayne and Snoop, but you also got Stove and Armani. That means he is still fulfilling his obligation to what I would call his core fan base while broadening his horizons. And quite frankly, you fucking with Def Jam, Mike. Like, what do you expect?
mm.
Like Def Jam been like, here's what I'll always give Def Jam. Def Jam been in the business of doing it big since day one.
Yeah. Def
And
Jam
and
is the
also too,
brand. When it comes
and
to hip
also too,
hop,
Mike,
go ahead.
Alchemist and Hit Boy did this album, Mike.
Yeah.
Those are two of the best three producers of this era, Metro Boomin included, and being the third one in that. When you're signed to Def Jam, when your guest appearance lineup includes people like Snoop and Wayne, and it includes fan favorites like Stove and Armani, and Alchemist and Hit Boy are doing the production. I'm gonna
Both
say that
proven
again because people keep
they're the
like
best
skipping that
two
part of it
album
over.
making producers in this era. The best two album making producers in this era,
Thank you,
possibly all time.
Mike. Mike, if we were going down the best 15 rap albums of the last 10 years, like those guys have probably produced a third of them at minimum.
Yeah.
Like, so the expectation should be high. He's fucking with two of the best three producers of this era. He's fucking with the biggest star, arguably, in rap history in Snoop. He's fucking with the biggest rapper of his era in Wayne. He's still fulfilling his obligation to the street sensibilities with the Stove record. It's like, the Braun record's crazy, Mike. I told you the Braun record to me is the song of the year so far, although it's early in the year. I play Braun every day, Mike. I just ain't been telling nobody. It's like, no, I've been bumping Braun.
This should be interesting. K Nicole with the super chat says, or Nikolai, excuse me, says, R.I.P. Marlena Shaw. R.I.P. I saw some more super chats here. We had Ill Magic. He says, which album would you choose as the best out of the three? Considering that they have all similar concepts based on the vehicle, but different stories. Good Kid, Mad City, Trouble Man, or Forever and a Day? Gonna go Good Kid, Mad City. This is a trick question.
It's not even conversational.
I know that Ill Magic is a big Crit fan too. So shout out to the big Crit fans out there. Y'all go hard.
Not a conversation.
And I think that Crit is he's one of the more underrated rappers of all time. But do you think he's the most underrated hip hop artist in his generation? Based on the work and I guess the acclaim that he doesn't receive.
I mean, first of all,
Nick
I think he's one of
Cole,
those people.
sorry. But go ahead.
It's possible. That's an arguable point. But don't ever
Because
mention those.
one
But
could.
don't ever mention those projects. But don't ever mention those projects next to Good Kid, Mad City again.
I
And
agree
we're
with
gonna
that.
have our Kendrick time on this show. But don't ever do that again.
We're gonna have our Kendrick convo and we're gonna have our J. Cole convo. And I think J. Cole is a better MC than Big Crit. But some people could feel otherwise. But some people could also say, what does Cole do the Big Crit doesn't do?
We're not doing that.
Really?
We just not going. We're not going to do that, Mike.
I'm just
Have you
talking
heard
about
J.
like
Cole
as an
live?
all around artist. I mean, we talk about being a producer, being an MC, making full projects. I think that Big Crit has, to me, I think Crit has probably made more critically acclaimed projects than Cole has. You don't think so?
No,
Really? Okay.
no,
Oh, we got to put
no.
this.
Like, how about this? How about this, Mike?
I want to put this in the poll. I mean, I don't know. I
My
mean, I don't have a
thing,
dog in this race. I'm just putting stuff out there.
my thing about Crit's catalog is that if I want to hear this style of music
Yeah.
from Crit, well, I'm just gonna put in "Riding Dirty" by UGK
I mean,
or
listen, Coop. You sound like
"Aquemini" by Outkast or "Coming Out Hard" by 8 Ball and MJG or an early Scarface project or "Soul Food" by Goody Mob. And so, for the lane and the gap that he chose to fill, his degree of difficulty is harder than Cole's because Cole has carved out his own lane more. You get what I'm saying?
I agree
Like
with you.
Cole didn't try to fill a lane. He created one,
Yeah,
and he
you're right.
probably created one because he knew that he wasn't as a Southern artist because he is from North Carolina. Well, he probably wasn't about to make no damn soul food or a Aquemini, Mike, and he hasn't. So he didn't try.
I think for people like you and I who, grew up on the Dungeon Family and, what I'm saying, the Ghetto Boys, Scarface, UGK, 8 Ball, MJG in their prime, and we were here. Hearing somebody like Big Crit isn't isn't anything new to us. You know what I mean? And I think that's how I always felt about it. And I love the stuff that Crit was making, but like you said, and you said it damn near word for word for what I was thinking back then. Like if I want to hear this, I put on Riding Dirty, or I put on a Criminal, I put on in my lifetime 8 Ball MJG. But for a lot of people though, Crit was something new. And I think for those people, he's held very high, as he should be. He's put in the work, but one of the things that you pointed out, and I think that's what really separates him and Cole, Cole carved his own lane where it seemed like Crit was trying to carry the torch.
I don't like people who carry torches, Mike. Feel what I'm
I
saying?
get, I get you. I mean, and even
You
if
know?
you piggyback some things from a previous era, you got to add your own flavor to it. You can hear J.
I agree.
Cole's influences, but he added his own flavor and he created his own lane. Michael
Yeah.
Jordan's not the same player that Dr. J is or was. I mean, shit, even though Kobe Bryant kind of mimicked Jordan's game all the way down, but that was his identity, being able to take on different things and add his own vibrato to it. But yeah, I think in my mind, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Crit fans out there, I just feel like Crit never did that. And I remember when I heard country shit for the first time, I'm like, who is this trying to sound like Pimp C? That's what my mind did, you know? But again, he's a dope MC, dope artist, and all of that. But you're right. I think that's what separates the two if we're gonna split hairs.
And Cole is the superior MC, Mike. He's the superior lyricist. He's the superior
Yeah,
storyteller. He
he
has
is.
the superior voice.
Let me see what the people in the super chat saying because it's blowing up now. Dot says Nas told the biggest lie in hip hop on New York State of Mind by saying, "I don't know how to start this." Right? Yeah, he clearly knew how to start this.
He was
Michael
17, 18, Mike. He probably didn't know how to start it.
it's always funny though, like when you're rhyming and stuff and you're waiting for the beat to actually drop for you to rhyme. That's one of the hardest parts to configure in the song because you get real redundant. You're just gonna go out there and say the same thing that other rappers say, like, okay, 9-6, mic check, blah blah, like when the song's coming on. So that is a difficult part to be like, you know what do I say before I jump in this verse?
Tupac never struggled with that. Neither did Jay.
Hey, Tupac is he's the guy. I think he knew he didn't seem to struggle with anything. Michael Sanders with the $20 super chat showing love. He says, Braun record is okay, man. I believe Big Dog is a better record. Do y'all think that Benny is going to drop the album of the year. I think it's very difficult. It makes it very difficult to drop an album of the year in January or February, but
Correct.
they're dialing things back to an era where music is being sparsed out. We also have to remember Get Rich or Die Trying came out around this time of year. The documentary came out around this time of year. And those albums were able to ride out the whole year. So saying all that to say, if you're gonna drop an album of the year in January, that shit's got to be something that's gonna last us the whole year, or at least half of it. And I think it can happen. We haven't seen that in a very long time, but I think it can happen. It's possible. What say
It's a
you?
definite possibility. I mean, just if I was looking at the landscape right now, I would say his biggest threat to album of the year status is going to be a J. Cole project.
Yeah. But I do think that
Yeah.
he has this advantage, right? If he drops some straight up fire, somebody like J. Cole, with all the expectations, and Complex just gave him Best Rapper Alive, he didn't even drop an album. I think that he's going to be fighting against that and a dope effort from a Benny. So I think even with J. Cole dropping, Benny dropping in January gives him an advantage. I think.
I said this in my article. Benny is one of the few guys walking around, and I don't care who agrees with this or not, and I'm not saying this because I met him. Um, he is one of the few guys that is actually capable of saying, like, I'm the best at this. And so long as, this 50-year-old dude doesn't mess around and drop another project, um, Cole is in Cole, Benny, Conway, Freddie.
Freddie. This could be Freddie's year too. Freddie said they say Freddie's coming, right?
We'll talk about that in a minute because that's a little. I find that a little odd that he's popping back up right when Benny's dropping. It
Competitive.
definitely has some. It definitely has some petty Betty tones, Mike. Petty Betty tones.
Well, the more music we get,
But
the better.
but what I was about to say is that if we're talking about traditional MC skills, and this has always been my thing with Benny and why I've always wanted a more classic effort from him. Oh no, Cole's the only one that really got him when it comes to what I would call the traditional form of art of rhyming from this generation. And Cole's not technically this generation.
Hmm.
I know Freddie has made better projects than Benny, but I don't find him to be a better MC bar for bar than Benny. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I find Conway to be a more versatile MC, but it's like the shit that he says on Braun when he's like, the only way my bitch will litter is if there's a sex tape leak. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, he's got that type of capability to say stuff like that with ease. That's that Kane shit, Mike. You know
I
what I'm
agree.
saying?
Blow for
And the
Blow
only
is one of
person,
our favorites.
blow for blow, nigga.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you better stand next to the God like Abraham.
Yeah.
Like, that's not regular rap guy stuff. That's not even superior rap guy stuff. That's the shades of somebody that can be the best at this.
Well, see, that's
And so,
why Benny was my favorite off top. Like, you know what I'm saying? And over time, the work that Conway was putting in, and when From a King to a God came out, I was like, yo, I got to concede. Conway got this right now. But I've always been drawn to Benny's style a little bit more. You know what I mean? Because I know he has those abilities. Thumbs up in the chat, too.
yeah. So it's there. So for me, he could take the reins and call himself the best MC in the game. And the people that would probably be able to wrestle that away from him right now just on some rap shit, like as an MC, would be his older cousin Conway and Cole, as far as this era is concerned. And like I said, I don't even know if it's to say the whole "what era are you in" thing. It's like, well, shit, Mike. I was listening to Cole when he was dropping mixtapes on hiphopsite.com, like back in 2008 and 9 and shit. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah,
was
Cole been
literally
around.
16 years ago. So as far as rappers from this era and skill level, like let's say we're not saying that Nas and Black Thought and Cole, even though they operate in this era, aren't from this era. Shit, Mike, Freddie been around for a minute. I told you, Mike, I heard Freddie for the first time in 2010, my G.
Yeah, Freddie been around for a minute too. I mean,
And so
I
if we're
was telling you the other day, what's stopping somebody from coming in and being the new Freddie? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, so if we're talking about people that actually like have popped up and made their run in this era, I mean, him and his older cousins would probably be the two guys that you would have to say on some MC shit. And
yeah,
so then it just becomes a question of the album quality reflecting that. And then I go back and I think about it and it's like, well, damn, he did make Tana Talk 3, Mike. It's pretty great, don't you
it
think?
is. Yeah.
Plugs I Met, Mike, is pretty great, Mike.
I fuck with plugs. I meant
I go back and listen to Burden of Proof now and I'm like, well, damn, that album's actually really damn good. It's just the wrong year, Mike, because a lot of guys made great shit that year.
2020
Like
was stacked.
2020 was just a stacked year. That's still a
Yeah.
dope project. And I think he, much like Nas on KD1, hadn't totally adapted to the new sounds and styles specifically that Hit Boy was providing. That's part of why I'm excited about this too. Is it's like, oh no, you done got time. Like think about this, Mike. Remember what we thought about KD1? And it
Hmm.
was like, ooh, it was kind of like you can go back and listen to it and you can tell that they were still finding each other out, like artist to producer. Well, we already know he know Alchemist well.
Yep.
We already know he know Hit well. I'm expecting this shit to come off like that.
Christopher Hogan with the super chat says Crit's more soulful than Cole. JY with the super chat says thoughts on Insano. We're gonna talk about it. He said thought it was pretty trash, and I'm supposed to be in Cuddy's demographic. Interesting.
What do you
Jermaine
mean when you
Johnson.
say?
Hmm.
Go ahead.
I was
No,
gonna say
go ahead.
Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says I do agree that Cole is a better MC in its purest form. However, Cole don't have a project better than Forever is a mighty long time. I saw somebody else in the chat say that as well. King 21 with the super chat says Big Sean will drop album of the year. Just wait. Okay. Um,
Who?
K Nicole with the super chat says, since Jam Master Jay and DJ Jazzy Jeff's birthday just passed, might y'all do a top 10 DJs of all time list or station head? I like that idea. Do want to give the DJ some love. Mad Max with the super chat says, FNL is greater than Forever. It's a mighty long time. Stop it. Friday Night Lights, that is. Um,
I
Chris
agree.
Christopher Hogan with the super chat says, y'all comparing Crit to Groupon's shows how great. I'm sorry, y'all comparing Crit to Groupon's shows how great he is, and he makes all his beats unlike the groups y'all name. Sean Dupree with the super chat says, Common's dropping a Pete Rock produced album. Thoughts? JY with the
First
super
of
chat
all,
says, 3 Kanye West albums this year. Try dropping one first. Okay, where we going?
first of all, that's wild. Let's work in reverse. Kanye ain't dropping shit, Mike. He he more
I
he
believe it
more
when I
concerned
hear
he more concerned with taking pictures of Bianca's ass than he is making music.
it.
Fact. Second of
I hope
all,
something comes
second
out.
of all,
I'm with you right now, man. We need to hear one album. Forget three.
I'll take one good album. It's been a long time since he did that too. Mike, I'm gonna say this about Big Crit and J. Cole. Nobody asked you niggas to make beats. You chose to make beats.
I like Big Chris
So
beats.
I don't give a Mike, that how about this? If you gonna make your own beats, you better have more classics than both of them have. I ain't trying to hear that shit. So when you talking about, well, he made his own beats unlike Goody Mob and Outkast, good for those guys. They know better. That's why they
Outkast
have more
actually made some
classics
of their
than me.
own beats. So,
They made some of their own beats on AT Aliens and Aquemini, right?
and
Or is
Stankonia.
it mostly AT Aliens?
It's mostly a Kubernetes. Stankonia. AT I want to say, Organized did Two Dope Boys. Um, Outkast did AT They did Elevators. Um, Jazzy Bell was Organized Noise. Yeah, it was kind of half and half on that one. It kind of
Who
kept
else?
turning. Like Organized Noise
Hold
did
on,
a whole
hold
Southern
on.
playlistic. Go ahead.
Wasn't Mr. DJ
Yeah, Mr.
part
DJ
of that?
at Collective. You know what? Let me stop guessing. I got the vinyl right here. We can
Yeah,
go.
Mike, grab the vinyl.
Yeah, I
Because
got
here's
the
what I'll
vinyl
tell
right.
you.
Yeah,
When you talk about Outkast making their own stuff with Mr. DJ, Mike, you know how many people that is, right? Do the
yeah. Mr.
arithmetic.
DJ is pretty.
One,
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
three. When it be Crit and Cole, it be one,
Right, right.
one,
Yeah. That's not fair. Yeah, you're right.
one. And guess what? You want to know what happens? When you just make your beats and you just rap over your beats and you don't have help, you don't have enough classics, Mike. That's why Dr. Dre gets help. That's why Kanye gets help. Because they fucking know better.
And you know
So
what?
stop making it seem like making. No, I'm sick of these dudes running around thinking because like making your own beats. If you're not making a classic, go get some other beats.
And I
Nobody
mean this
cares.
with the utmost respect, Coop, because you know I'm a huge Prince fan, even though I'm a Michael guy too. Even with Prince, you're not going to find a musician, a composer, a writer more talented than Prince. But you can even tell when he's doing projects by himself. It's a difference. Like when you got a lot of people in the pot, that's what Michael's stuff sounds like. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what Thriller sounds like. It sounds like a whole team put that together.
Hey, look
And
here, Mike.
it's hard to compete. It's hard for any individual to compete against a whole collective. Akumanai was made as a collective. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back was made as a collective. It's tough to compete with that. Only built for Cuban links. Collective.
Look here, Mike. As soon as the revolution was done and he made Sign of the Times, which is his best album in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
No, Mike, Sheila E was in the building.
Yeah.
Sheena Easton was in the building. A whole a whole literal fucking orchestra of musicians was in the building. Now he might have been the band leader. Like he may not have had anybody like a Wendy or a Lisa as a songwriter. But as far as playing the music, Mike, you know, the beats,
Yeah.
Prince has always had a fucking band. He had 94 East to start off with. And Mike, his weakest stuff is the gap between when he had his band 94 East and before the revolution comes into the fray. The
This is how.
revolution is the difference in the comeuppance, Mike.
Yeah.
When you
This
start seeing Wendy and Lisa pop up,
is
is when the
different.
shit start getting epic.
You
It's
know,
dope before that.
this is how great Prince's band is. Devontae from Jodeci tried out for Prince's band and got declined, denied. And that's how
Mike, there's nothing.
Jodeci formed. He went and got, you know what I'm saying, Casey, and he went and got JoJo, and then he went and got his brother, and they came together because he didn't make it in Prince's band. That's how great Prince's band is. Somebody like Devontae didn't even make it. So yes, he's always had great musicians around him, even though he's the greatest musician and band leader. But yeah, that collective is necessary. It definitely
Mike,
is. And when one
he
person
can't
makes
play
an album, you can tell.
he can't play the drums and the guitar at the same damn time, Mike. It's not gonna work.
I do think that Purple Rain is probably his best album, but I think Sign of the Times is his most impressive album. And I am okay with anybody saying Sign of the Times is his best album because the range on there is insane.
The
It's
song the song
the
when I listen to Sign
songwriting.
of the Times, the songwriting, first of all, it's probably like for an album for me, short of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, the best songwriting I've heard in an album. Or you could pick your favorite Stevie album. So the songwriting is there. But Mike, it's the fact that he's doing his best James Brown and
Mhm,
Stevie Wonder impersonation while still being Prince. That's what it
mhm.
is. I hear Sign of the Times. I hear him at his songwriting zenith, but I hear James Brown's influence. I
Yeah,
hear Stevie Wonder's
Housequake.
influence. Housequake, that's James Brown, Mike.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a beautiful night. That's
it's gonna
James
be a beautiful
Brown.
night. Yeah, I was gonna go there. Adore being on there, like the
Adore Stevie.
the range
That's
on
a
there. And then you got If I Was Your Girlfriend and stuff like that. Strange
that's Prince.
relationship. You know,
I could never take the place of your man.
can never
Mike, that's
take it back.
stadium
That is
flow.
a listen. That's a brilliant record. That's one of those songs that is so great. It's just buried in the album that's super great. If that song's on another album, that song shines even
How
more.
about
I think
this?
it shines on there, but
It
it,
does. Like, how about this, Mike? If you put if you put I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man on Around the World in a Day, even with Raspberry Beret and Pop Life on there,
Yeah.
that changes the whole trajectory of that album. And that album is a borderline classic to me too. But it putting
Have you
that
heard the
record on there,
one? Have you heard the version that he recorded in the 70s?
yes,
It's dope.
you know,
And it's just a dope song. And it could have been on anything at that point. But the fact that he bumped that song up to the level he did on Sign of the Time, impressive. Impressive.
he made that record because he was watching people like Tom Petty and Bruce Springsteen sell out stadiums, and he was just literally like in this place where he's like, "Oh, I'm black and I'm better than them at that." Here
I
you go.
thought that was Purple Rain's initiative too.
Yeah. Well, he
Yeah,
was better.
yeah,
No
of
disrespect to
course.
those guys. He's better.
No, he is. They would probably say that too. Um,
They would.
Starship and Coffee too. Beautiful record. Mad Max with
Mike,
Super
so
Chat.
many beautiful records.
It's an incredible album. So yeah, if somebody said that album's better than Purple Rain, I ain't mad at that. But Purple Rain is just one of those, man. Every single song is a banger.
Look, since you pulling out vinyl, Mike.
I got that on vinyl over there. Yeah,
Hold
yeah.
on. Hold on.
Yep. Got Sign of the Times and Purple Rain over here.
Mike, this is with the original sticker on it.
I know. I
These are the
remember.
original album
Yeah.
stickers. Yeah.
Incredible. Mad Max of the Super Chat says, Crit, we come talk to me when he's Crit can come talk to me when he say someone like him told to come off his chain and trying to die over a cross, just like the start of Christianity. Mad Max, man, you gotta retype that one. He says, Crit, come talk to me when he says something like somebody told him to come off his chain for trying to floss, die over the cross, just like the start of Christianity. Yeah, this is what I'll say. Cole got the quotables. I'll give Cole the quotables, but I think Crit makes that music that people feel. Like they said, Crit got the soul.
I do get that, but it's one of those things that it's like, and I'm not saying this disrespectfully, it's like after I hear a Crit album, I usually want to go listen to one of my favorite Southern rap albums afterwards.
Mm.
It's like, damn, I want to hear ATLians now.
Well, I don't want this to turn into a tangent, so we can bring it back around to Cole.